Hey everyone, Jansen here, and I just came out of a design competition where I challenged myself for 21 days straight. And now I'm excited to share with you the secrets of my creative process, from the first pen stroke to the final renders. You'll see it all. But that's not all. Alongside sharing my creative process, I'll also open up about the tough moments that we all face. Creating this video has given me some profound insights on what it truly takes to be a creative. So if you're looking to embark on a creative career, you absolutely need to watch the video. Okay, so I entered a design competition where we had to design a space for well-being. The purpose of the space was to allow people to rejuvenate and recharge. And one of the main requirements of this project was you had to use this product called marmoleum. It's crafted from natural materials such as linseed oil, wood flour, limestone, pine resin, and jute fibers. You often see these products in schools, hospitals, and other public buildings. And we had to choose one of these buildings, design a 10 square meter space within that building. But before I even started, it took me many days of deliberation just to decide if I wanted to take on this competition. My two main considerations was whether if I had enough time and if I'd found a good enough idea. It's not uncommon for a designer to work on a project for many days and weeks and still feel like their project's not good enough to win or even submit. And most of all, there's that fear of embarrassment or disappointment if you don't win. And because of this risk, I've known many architects that have completely given up on doing anything creative. But it doesn't have to be this way. Seth Godin's book, The Practice, has completely changed my view on this. In this book, he talks about a certain practice that we can rely on. And if we trust the process, we'll be able to overcome the resistance and ultimately be able to produce more creative work. So throughout this video, I'm going to talk about what this certain practice is, and I'm going to talk about some key concepts from the book. Okay, so during my university days, waiting for inspiration to strike before tackling my assignments was my go-to strategy. I would often wait till it's too late, and when I entered design competitions out of school or work, I'd just give up if the inspiration never came. But this time I decided to approach it differently and take a more disciplined approach. Because I currently have a full-time job, I decided to wake up earlier every day just for 30 minutes, for 21 days straight, and to work on the competition bit by bit every day. The idea is to rely on a consistent practice and trusting the process. So on the first few days, I wrote down a lot of notes and ideas and didn't do much drawings. So I started to write notes about the brief. And then I started to write notes about some feelings and senses that I attributed to well-being. And then I drew on my experiences, places that I've been to and precedents that I know of that associated with being well-being. And then these eventually led me to some ideas. I would look up these spaces and try to analyze these spaces and try to find out what exactly about them that made them more relaxing and rejuvenating. I'd draw over them and then I'd think about it and try to come up with ideas. A lot of time we procrastinate because we feel like we don't have any good ideas, just like how a writer would say a writer's block. But writer's block doesn't actually exist, or designer's block, call it whatever you want. We only believe in writer's block because we believe that we can't come up with any good ideas. And the key word is good. Because if I ask you to come up with some bad ideas, I'm sure you can come up with 2 very quickly. And after creating these 2, you'll probably be able to come up with another 5. Writer's block isn't about our inability to physically write. It's actually about our fear of bad ideas. We often think that we have to produce something amazing right off the bat, and when we can't, we just give up. But here's the thing, if we lower our bar a little bit and design freely, even if it's rubbish, and we'll start to see the ideas flow. So these are some of my initial ideas. First of all, I started to look at rooms without corners, rooms that are curved, and I had this dome idea. I spent most of my time trying to see how I could showcase the marmoleum product. So this idea was having steps. So I had a lot of different steps to allow different types of marmoleum products to be showcased. And then there's this another idea where it had floating planes and then maybe a mirror ceiling to show the marmoleum product. And this is a spiral idea. And then this idea was inspired by the Eisenman Holocaust Memorial. And then some more ideas. And then I had this idea about a circle and how the circle will have different marmoleum products. And then I started to think about the room and entering a room that had an sort of an airlock, an entrance or a transition space. And this is that room in section. Again, I started to look at how the space would work inside a building. So this is a corridor and then that space in the middle of the corridor. This is this drawing it again, and then I started to think about having greenery, but that was a bit of a distraction. And then I realized I kept drawing back to a circle and how I could separate that circle and split up that circle by putting walls in that circle, different marmoleum products, different colors in the floors to mark different parts. And then I started to break up that circle and just making sure that it was 10 square meters. And then I eventually got attracted to the golden ratio and the golden rectangle, and then seeing if I could create a space out of that. So we're at day 7 and I'm starting to worry because I haven't settled on the design. I got a lot of designs, some good designs, but I need a great one to win the competition, something that would stand out. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I think I'm pretty close. So just need to pick one and start producing. So I started with this idea of going to a room where there's a little bit of a transition space and there's this wall blocking this soft light. You come in and you're surprised by this soft warm light. And I eventually went on to looking at circles and how that circle could be broken up with walls and different wall patterns, and came up with many ideas. And a lot of the times I realized the circle was a bit too small and a bit crammed. And this is me looking at ceilings and different types of walls that the circle could have, and really breaking up the circle. And eventually I came to break up the circle and splitting it up and seeing if I could make 2 separate spaces instead of 1. And eventually I deviated to this shape that was inspired by the golden ratio. And I really liked this idea of one light in the corner and that lit up the whole room. And it was partly covered by that wall, and it had a curtain and a bench in the middle. And I started to refine this idea a little bit more. So I'm at day 14 now, and I've been feeling some nervousness or angst because the first 7 days of these 21 days I've been able to come up with a lot of different ideas, a little different concept ideas, but this week, this past 7 days, I've just been stuck on this one scheme and I haven't been able to think of anything better. And there's been some angst and nervousness because I don't know if this scheme is good enough. And so I guess you could say this past 7 days was sort of a design development phase where I just kept on reiterating and see how I can improve this scheme, and I haven't been able to draw myself out to other concept ideas. And this is what I think generally happens in design competitions, where you just think and try to come up with ideas until there's not enough time to come up with new ideas. Then you just have to pick one and just got to start producing in the last few days. And I think this is what I'm at now. So I just got to produce now and hope for the best. That fear and angst that I mentioned about comes from a need for certainty. The certainty for a good outcome, and also the fear of a bad outcome and the criticism that might come with it. And this fear is often enough to deter us from taking on creative work and giving it up. To get over this, we need to take a step back and look at what it actually means to do something creative. If we simply follow what's been done before, then it wouldn't be considered creative. To do something truly creative, it means it hasn't been done before, and hence there's an inherent risk that it may not work. Uncertainty is not the problem. It's the point. It's why we want to be creative in the first place. So once you understand this, you realize that all that self-doubt is normal and it comes with the job. So this consistent worry about whether it's good or not will probably never go away. And the only real way to find out if it's good or not is to actually publish, to show people your work. And I know this can be daunting for a lot of people. If it's just a hobby, sure, you can hide your work forever. But if you want to be a professional, you need to be able to develop good taste. Good taste is the ability to anticipate what your audience will like. And the only way to develop this skill is to show people your work and to learn from their feedback. And this is key to a professional practice. Just practicing by ourselves is not enough. We need to practice to publish, and to do it consistently. I'm not saying that we have to publish everything we make, but if we don't publish enough, we'll become too precious about everything we make, and it will hold us back from improving. So this is what I published. The idea was that in an office environment, we're often overstimulated by people, noise, clutter, and bright lights. To rejuvenate, we need a place of respite. This is done by offering a quiet, minimal space with soft lighting and subtle textures. Inspired by the afternoon sunset, I chose warm, analogous colors. The idea was to curve the walls to display a smooth gradient of soft light with the subtle textures from the mammalian product. Visitors will enter through this small transition space, The curtains forces the visitors to bow their heads and lead their eyes to the floor, where they'll see a small patch of black marmoleum at the entrance, signaling a threshold and a change in space. They then pass through the second curtain to enter a dimly lit space. They will first notice this soft light immediately to their right. I chose this light that looked like a lantern. It's soft and fragile, causing visitors to slow down and to be careful. From there, they may choose to sit next to the light or sit further away. The corner space at the opposite end of the room offers a respite from the bright lights outside, and perhaps a place to shut their eyes. But others might feel rejuvenated by sitting next to the warm, soft light. As the visitors sit down and take into this new environment, they will notice the express joints in the marmoleum. The sheets have been carefully laid out to align all the joints on the walls and the floors and the bench. Normally, the patterns and the textures of the marmoleum range aren't noticed at a distance. However, the marmoleum cocoa shells stood out to me with this uneven surface because of the cocoa shells. These speckles in the product are further highlighted when we bring it close to a light source. Hence, the pendant light is positioned lower than normal to bring the cocoa shells into the attention. So did I win the competition? Nope. So now you're wondering, why am I even showing you this? Am I not afraid of criticism and being seen as a bad designer? I could have easily not published this video and hid the fact that I actually entered a competition. But that's not the point of this video. The reason why I made this video is to talk about the practice.
We're talking about practice.
The practice of consistently publishing work regardless of the outcome. You have to understand that you are not your work, and your work are a series of choices and decisions that you've made. And if you don't like the decisions that you made, you can always learn to make better decisions next time. You can't be so attached to the outcome of your work. If I had saw this competition as a finite game, then yes, I failed. But if I want to continue to improve and be creative in my career, we need to treat the creative work that we do as part of an infinite game. Simon Sinek wrote a book about this. The infinite game is like playing catch in the backyard with your child. There is no winning or losing. In an infinite game, we don't play to end the game, we play to keep playing. This isn't the only design competition that I'm going to enter, so I don't have to be precious about this. I'm going to try and learn from this and develop skill and knowledge and good taste. To recap the video, these are the steps that you have to take in your creative practice. Number 1, do the work. Don't be so afraid about having bad ideas that you don't even start. You have to start somewhere. And if you produce enough bad ideas, the good ideas will eventually come. Number 2, publish, because you'll never actually know if it's good or not if you don't publish. You don't have to enter a competition, but you do have to show people your work. Number 3, learn. Learn from your experiences, develop skill, knowledge, and good taste. Then you'll be able to improve. Number 4, do it again. Practice, because this is an infinite game.
Not the game. We're talking about practice, man.
So that's all I have for you today. If you really liked the lessons from this video, please read the book. There were so many more ideas that I wanted to talk about. So I'll leave a link to the book below. And if you like this video, please put a comment below and let me know. And subscribe and check out my other videos.
But we talking about practice, man. What are we talking about? Practice? We're talking about practice, man. We're talking about practice.